when you are gardener, keen and amateur gardener, you want also to have something different, not the same thing you see in your father's or in your neighbor's garden. And so that's the reason we are always traveling around and looking what is interesting. One of the best places for us to find new things beside our own breeding is Oregon. Why Oregon? It seems that in the west coast of the US, well, perhaps it's the hippie movement of the 60s. There were many people collecting varieties from everywhere, having a more sustainable lifestyle, and so we find many things there. It's easy to find Russian varieties, Russian breeding products from the 50s and 40s in Oregon than to find them in Russia. So one thing we have found are the Pointilla berries. Pointilla is our trademark name. Botanical, it's Eleagnus plants. They were not collected by the hippies. They came into the US in the 19th century from Japan. And in some states of the US, they are even named invasive. I don't think they are invasive. The reason they're named invasive is in the 50s and 60s of the last century, they were planted in millions on mine areas, wineries. And when you plant a plant in millions, and if this plant has a comparative advantage, it will spread. And the comparative advantage of this plant is it can fix nitrogen in the roots. So it has a good, it can spread. But at the garden plant, also in Oregon, it's not very common. And we have selected varieties from there and tested here. And what is the USP of this variety? USP is marketing speech, means unique selling proposition. More interesting for you, unique planting proposition. UPP, what is the unique planting proposition? Why plant this plant and not another? The interesting thing with this Pointilla is it has fruit and is nice at the time where it don't have anything other in the garden. It's October, November. And it's a little bit like a buckwheat sea thorn with red fruits. There are also yellow varieties all over the branches. And you can pick them like this. My wife this year, for example, in our test field, picked half an hour about 4-5 kilograms of fruit. No thorns, you can go like this through the branches, have full fruit. And as a difference to buckseed thorn, it's edible, directly edible. Again, high acidity and high sugar. But you have to be a patient gardener. Also this year, we had a late year this year, Switzerland and Germany, where we have nurseries. And probably we became very nervous because we wanted to introduce this plant this year. And we wanted to have the proof again, that's good. And it was sour, again sour. 10th of October sour, 20th of October sour. But then suddenly it became sweet. So you had the combination of high sweetness, high sugar, and high acidity, and you have the ornamental value, with the whole tree is full of red fruit. Two things are a little bit negative about this plant. I have also to say, and that will be the goals for breeding this type of plant. One thing is you have to have two different varieties. The first plant I planted about 7 or 8 years ago in my own garden, alone, without fruit. And the last 2 years we tested. We had plastic sacks and paper sacks, bags on the branches that no insects can come in and there are no fruits. But if you have planted two different varieties, you will have fruits. It's not capable to pollinize itself. So you have to plant two things, two plants, two different plants. It's the same thing as with human beings. We have also to be different, otherwise it doesn't work. So the second hectare, it can become a little bit too big. If you are doing nothing, it becomes 3 to 4 meters, but it's very easy to cut it back to 2 meters. And if a branch is becoming more than 4 or 5 centimeters, just cut it down. Always new shoots are coming from the ground, and so it's possible to have it as a hedge on about 2 meters. So a new type of fruit, very nice to look at, different, nice colors, and very good to eat.